Okay, this video is going to show you how to sweat a pipe. It's called sweating, I don't know why, but we're going to solder two pipes, or at least in this case, a fitting onto a pipe together, okay? Now whether you're including a pipe through into a 90 degree like this, or this is 45 I think, or a coupler or what have you, the process is the same. Okay, so we're going to need gloves like we have here. You should get eye protection as well whenever you do anything. You're going to need a torch. The MAP Pro, as you can see this MAP, the yellow can, it burns hotter than the blue can. And so things can go quicker. So we recommend buying this particular brand, or at least this particular color, for purposes of soldering pipes. You're going to need solder. Now you have to be careful. You want to make sure that the solder is appropriate for potable water because you don't want any lead in your pipes. Same thing with the next thing that you're going to need, which is solder flux. This flux is specific for water and will not contain any contaminants that will be harmful, so they say. Anyway, now's a good time to hit like and subscribe if you would do that for us. We'd appreciate it because this way we get credit for the video. Okay. So basically to prepare the pipe is the first thing that you want to do. Now in this case, this fixture, okay, it's called a male adapter, is going to be fitted over this pipe like this. Okay, and we're going to solder that together. Now the first thing you're going to want to do, or at least the first thing I like to do, is something that you may want to pick up if you don't have it, and this is a bore. This is a 1-inch bore because this is a 1-inch receptacle. Since the pipe excuse me, is going to go inside the connector, the inside of the connector needs to be abrased. It must have some type of roughness to it so that the solder sticks to it. So we're doing that for that purpose only, okay? And these things can be picked up at Harbor Freight, Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever. Okay, now we've done the inside. The outside has to be done too because that is the outside of the pipe is going to be coming in contact with the inside of the adapter. So we have to rough that up too. How are we going to do that? Well, you can do it with anything, really, anything abrasive. In this case, we have a drywall block of sandpaper. You can use an emery file. You can use anything. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to rough up the edges here until we see shiny. Shiny things, right? Everybody likes shiny things? Well, okay. Only about 1 inch because it only has 1 inch depth that it goes into these receptacles. So as you can see, nice and shiny. We have to deburr this. Now I've already deburred it. This is a deburring tool. This is very necessary because we don't want any sharp, even barely macroscopic edges on this thing going in. So we're going to take this tool, we're going to put it inside the entryway here, apply some pressure and go around it like this. Do it a few times, but it's hard. You know, we're going to be applying some pressure like this, and if you look at it, you're going to see some shavings that are going to come out. And then you can always test it to see if it's properly deburred by running your finger in there without the glove, but very carefully, so in case there is a burr, it doesn't cut you. Okay? So now that that's done, what we're going to do is, so in recap, we abrase the internal portion of this, we abrase the external portion of the pipe that goes in it, and we deburred the pipe that goes in it. Okay? This one is machine shopped, it wasn't cut by us. It doesn't have to be deburred. If you want to deburr that, you can too. Just do it the same way with your deburring tool, which is here, and just go around it with some force to make some of the shavings come off, and you'll see that it is proper. Okay, so we've already made that shiny. We're going to do the same thing to the external part of the lip, just to make sure it's nice and smooth, right? Okay. Now, we're going to apply flux. Flux aids the, oh my God. Really, dude? Really? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to add flux to the internal portion of the receptacle and the external portion of the pipe. And why I said really dude is because I thought the camera turned off and stopped recording, and I didn't want to restart this again, so please excuse me. All right, so here's the receptacle. Here's the flux I just got on this thing. Now, it will come with its own brush, but I lost mine, so we're just going to do a nice light layer all the way around in the internal portion of this receptacle, because that's where the pipe is going to go. And then we're going to put it also on the outside here. Remember, it only has an inch depth, so you don't paint the entire pipe, just enough to have coverage around. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to connect them. Okay, make sure you hear it snap. There, now it's really good and nice and tight. And we're going to take a paper towel or a rag or whatever, and we're going to wipe the residual flux away from the pipe just to make it neat. Okay, so now we have this, right? Okay, now we want the solder to flow in the direction that way to this. We don't want it going that way. We want it to basically, for lack of a better term, glue or adhere to the receptacle. So we want the solder to flow that way. And this is significant for two reasons. One is because whenever you're heating, you don't heat this part if you want it to go that way. You heat the part that you want it to draw the solder in. So if you want it to go that way, you heat this part only, okay? The second issue is you want gravity on your side. So we're not going to solder it like this. We could, but we want gravity to help us. So we're going to solder it like this, okay? And apply the solder this way, so it draws it this way by heating that unit only, and gravity will assist it inside. Now remember, when you're putting it in a vise, if that's what you're doing, usually you don't want it knocking over while you're heating because it gets extremely hot. It will burn you, catastrophically burn you. That's why you want gloves, and that's why you want to secure it with a vise. But you don't want the vise on these grooves here because you'll ruin them. You want it on this edge here, or even on this edge here. So I'm going to put on pause. Okay, so I put it in the vise and I put it on that nut that's built into the adapter, and it's not touching the threads, as you can see, right? Okay. I put it very tight though, because when you heat it, it will get loose. It'll expand and it can fall out of the vise. So you have to be cognizant of that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to heat that portion. We're going to put our gloves back on. We're going to heat that portion up, and we're going to apply the solder. Now, solder won't melt immediately, and you're not applying heat to the solder itself. The receptacle, once it's hot enough, will allow the solder to melt and flow. And what we're going to do is we're going to take enough solder out of this ring, because as it melts, it's going to get shorter and shorter, so we don't want that happening. So we're going to do this, maybe even make a little bend like that, okay? And we're going to apply it here once we think it's gotten hot enough, okay? Now, when that happens, your flux is going to start to boil. Don't worry about it. Heat and sputtering will come out the bottom or the top or both. So keep your eyes away from them. Remember, eye protection, very, very important. Okay. When we do this, we're going to have to go, once it starts melting, we're going to have to go all the way around the pipe, because we need a seal that goes all the way around this pipe adapter. You can't just do it in one place. It's got to be all the way around. And I'm describing this to you right now because when it happens, it's quick and I won't have time to explain it too much while I'm doing it. The other thing I'm going to explain to you is that once it's done, the solder is going to be molten still for just a little while. And in order to make a really nice looking and functional bead, you're either going to take, or I'm going to take my glove finger and go all the way around it while it's still molten, or even a paper towel will do. That's what you want to do. In fact, I'll probably use a paper towel. And ultimately, you're trying to make a nice little seal by spreading that liquid solder around. Okay. Now, how do we start this thing up? Here's your guy here. It's got a button here. You hit it real hard. That one didn't work. That worked. Okay. When you let go, it will stop, and then you'll be okay. You just make sure that you put it in a place to cool. Okay, so we're going to start it up right now. I'm going to heat the bottom portion until it gets hot enough for me to solder. I'm going to put something on the bottom of the floor. I'm just going to describe a little paper towel for things that drip so it doesn't ruin my garage. And here we go. So I'm going to go around this thing. It's a very thick unit. The solder flux is bubbling. It's melting. Okay, so it's still hot. So now we take our paper towel, we wipe around it. Be careful, this is extremely hot. No children around. Don't touch it yourself by accident. But as you can see, by me spreading it around like that, it has a beautiful, very continuous seal. No, I'm sorry, dad humor. Okay, so beautiful seal. Okay, wonderful. All right. If some of the solder drips down and causes an impediment, you can either take a torch and melt it off, scrape it off like that. You can take a file, not so much sandpaper because it's too thick. A file to take it off. In this case, I didn't do it here, but I did it when I used the other portion. That's fine. It doesn't hurt anything as long as you can get your portions on there. Now this entire thing is very hot. We're not going to touch it again until it's cold. And then you can do whatever project you're doing and everything should be fine. Okay? If for some reason it should leak, and this sucker is not leaking, but if it were to leak, that simply means that you either need to use different parts and try it again, or maybe you can heat it up again, reapply solder, and see if you fill in any of the blanks. I've never had anything leak. When you do it like this, baby, it's done. But if it does leak for you, you got to do what you got to do if it's to redo the job or try and do it again and add more solder. Anyway, that's it. That's how you solder pipes. Remember to deburr, sand the inside, sand the outside, and put it together with the proper flux, the proper solder in there, and spread it around, and you'll have a beautiful solder joint. It's not just aesthetic, it's also functional because you have coverage and no spaces in between. Anyway, hit like and subscribe if you would. I appreciate it, and thanks very much and good luck.